This one doesn't start with a fight, or a lie, or a kiss that meant nothing. It starts with a locked door in my own house. It was a Saturday. Quiet. Too quiet. I had just come back from fixing her car. Again, because apparently oil changes are just a suggestion. I knocked on the bedroom door. Locked. Not unusual if she was changing. But then I heard it. Laughter. A man's voice. Muffled, but real. I stood there like a ghost in my own hallway. At first, I convinced myself it was a video. TikTok. Some stupid podcast. But the longer I stood there, the more it became obvious. She wasn't alone. I didn't kick the door down. I didn't scream. I just walked away. Into the kitchen. Sat down at the table. And stared at the steam rising from the takeout she had asked me to pick up for a movie night. 10 minutes later, the door creaked open. She came out brushing her hair. Calm. Like nothing happened. Looked at me and said, "Oh, you're still here?" No panic. No guilt. Just tired irritation. Like I was the one ruining her weekend. I didn't say a word. That night, I slept on the couch. Again. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part came later, when I found out what she'd been planning behind that locked door. And it had nothing to do with love. I didn't confront her that night. I wanted to, but I didn't trust myself to speak without shattering. Instead, I watched her scroll through her phone with that same deadpan calm, curled up in bed like nothing had happened behind that locked door. No apology. No explanation. Not even curiosity about where I'd gone. The next morning, I went to work early. Sat in the parking lot for 40 minutes because I couldn't focus. Couldn't think. I kept replaying the voice I heard. That low laugh. That muffled something. I still don't know what it was. But it wasn't me. It hadn't been me for a long time. I opened our shared laptop that evening, pretending to look for a file. She'd forgotten to log out of her cloud account. One folder caught my attention. Backups. Inside were saved message threads. One of them was labeled ALX basketball. I opened it, and what I saw made my stomach drop. Screenshots. Dozens. Video calls. Inside our house. Photos I never saw her take. Some from the bedroom, some from my own desk. And then the texts. Flirty at first. Then intimate. Then worse. He still doesn't get it. I feel nothing when he touches me. We're already over. He just doesn't know yet. I scrolled for 15 minutes. My hands shook so badly, I almost dropped the laptop. I wanted to scream, but nothing came out. Instead, I went to the bathroom, splashed water on my face, and stared at myself in the mirror like I was some kind of fool from a sitcom. Except this wasn't fiction. This was how she saw me, an obstacle. A chore. And yet, that night, she kissed my cheek like everything was fine. Said goodnight. Turned off the light. I lay awake beside her. Wide-eyed. Breathing shallow. Listening to the sound of someone sleeping peacefully after gutting the person next to them. She didn't know I knew. Not yet. But I was going to make sure she never forgot what it felt like when the man she thought was too soft, too patient, finally decided to stop forgiving her. The hardest part wasn't reading the messages. It was pretending I hadn't. That week, I made a decision. I wasn't going to confront her until I understood the full scale of what she'd done. Not just emotionally, financially, legally, spiritually. I wanted to know just how deep the rot went before I burned the whole thing down. So I played the role. Smiled when she walked in. Asked about her day like an idiot playing house. She thought I was just softening up again, folding like I always did. But behind the scenes, I was changing passwords. Separating bank accounts. I contacted an old college friend, Jules, who worked in IT compliance. She helped me set up discreet tracking on our devices. Turns out her conversations with ALX basketball were just the surface. There was another contact, saved under a fake name. Same pattern. Same flirty tone. Different face. This wasn't an affair. It was a pattern. A habit. A lifestyle she built on my loyalty, assuming I'd never notice. I printed everything. Compiled it. Cataloged timestamps. Call logs. Text threads. Even the ones she deleted, I had recovery tools. I made USB copies and mailed one to my brother across the country for safekeeping. If she ever tried to flip the narrative, I was going to be 10 steps ahead. The anger wasn't explosive. It was slow, quiet, cold, the kind that changes your core wiring. I began noticing things I used to ignore. The way she smirked when I made a suggestion, the fake politeness she used in front of my friends, how she always found ways to take without giving anything back. Then one night, she came home late, again, and tossed her purse on the couch. "I'm gonna shower," she said, without even glancing at me. I followed her down the hallway, not to argue, not to beg, but because in that moment, something in me snapped. I stood outside the bathroom door and calmly said, I know about Alex, and Leon, and the folder you thought was hidden. Silence. The sound of running water stopped. 5 seconds passed, then 10. Then the door creaked open just enough for her to peek through, her face pale and unreadable. You went through my stuff? She asked, voice flat. No, I replied. I went through the remains of our marriage. She didn't deny it, didn't apologize, didn't even look ashamed. All she said was, so what now? I looked her dead in the eye and whispered, now I let you find out who you are when no one's protecting you anymore. She didn't cry. Not then. Not when I said her name like it was foreign to my tongue. Not when I mentioned both men. Not even when I showed her the stack of papers I had quietly compiled, sealed in an envelope sitting on the hallway table. She stared at it like it was a package she didn't remember ordering. That silence between us. It wasn't awkward anymore. It was tactical. She wasn't shocked that I found out. She was trying to calculate how much I knew and what I would do next. I watched her try to play it safe. It's not what you think, she finally said, stepping fully out of the bathroom, wrapped in a towel like her nakedness would disarm me. You've been distant. For months. It just happened. Wrong answer. The kind of answer someone gives when they think they're still holding the cards. But I wasn't there to fight anymore. I was there to finish. You've got 3 days to figure out where you're going, I said, flat and steady. I want you out by Monday. You can't just throw me out of my own house, she snapped, her composure cracking for the first time. I almost smiled. That's how I knew I had leverage. I own it, I replied. My name is on every document. Your name was never added to the deed. You begged me to handle all the paperwork when we moved in, remember? Her expression twisted. That was the moment she realized the cage she built for me had no lock from the inside. But I just found the door on my own. The next day, she didn't go to work. She sat in the living room all morning like some mannequin version of the woman I married. No makeup, no phone, no smirking, just breathing and watching me like a cornered animal waiting to pounce. That evening, I got a call from Alex. I didn't pick up. Then another. Leon this time. How they got my number, I don't know. Maybe she gave it to them in a panic. Maybe she wanted to get ahead of the story. But I wasn't giving interviews. I wasn't explaining myself to strangers who only ever knew the version of her she pretended to be. Instead, I went out. I had dinner with Jules. Yes, the friend who helped me uncover everything. No, it wasn't a date. It was survival. It was me reminding myself that trust could still exist somewhere. When I came back, she was gone. No note. No explanation. Just gone. At first, I thought that was the end. But the message she left behind wasn't on paper. It was in the mirror. And what I found scrawled in lipstick across the glass wasn't an apology. It was a warning. The lipstick on the mirror said, "You'll regret this." Not "I'm sorry." Not "let's talk." Just that, a threat disguised as a prophecy. I stood there in the bathroom, the smell of her perfume still clinging to the towels, and stared at those words until the steam from my shower made them blur into dripping red streaks. I didn't wipe it off. I left it there, like a crime scene that needed to be processed. She had packed light. Most of her clothes were still in the closet, hangers tilting like broken necks. The drawers were half open, makeup trays scattered, but her phone charger was gone. Her favorite boots were missing. And so was one of the framed photos from the hallway, the one where we were smiling on a boat, just before everything started going numb. At 2:43 a.m., I got the first text. You're going to make me look like the villain? No name. No context. Just that. By the time I woke up the next morning, she had already posted a carefully cropped selfie on her social media. Caption, starting over. Sometimes self-love means walking away. The comments were what you'd expect. You're so strong. He didn't deserve you. Can't wait to see you thrive, queen. Not a single person knew what she had done. Not one. But here's where things took a turn I wasn't prepared for. On Monday, I got an email from my HR department. A formal inquiry. A concern had been submitted. An anonymous report, accusing me of emotional instability and verbal harassment at home that might affect my conduct at work. They used vague language, carefully worded, but I knew exactly who it came from. She wasn't trying to get closure. She was trying to destroy my credibility before I could share the truth. She wanted to make sure that if I ever spoke up, it would sound like revenge, like bitterness, like a man who couldn't handle being left. I didn't respond publicly. I didn't post screenshots. I didn't stoop to her level. What I did instead was much quieter and much more dangerous. I called Jules again because we had one final copy of everything. And now we had a plan. I didn't want revenge. Not at first. I wanted distance. I wanted silence. But when she tried to destroy my name, when she whispered lies into the same systems that paid my bills, I realized something dangerous. This wasn't about love anymore. This was war. And in war, you don't fight fair. You fight smart. The file Jules and I compiled had everything. Not just the texts, the calls, and the hidden accounts. It had location data from nights she claimed she was working late. It had screenshots of shared calendars showing her solo yoga retreats that perfectly overlapped with Alex's Instagram stories of luxury cabins he'd posted without tagging her. We had proof of her manipulation, texts where she discussed spinning the narrative. One even read, "If he ever finds out, I'll just say he was controlling and paranoid. No one will question that." You know how horrifying it is to read someone planning your downfall like a checklist? So we used it, but not all at once. The first step wasn't legal. It was surgical. I reached out to her closest friend, Noor, someone she trusted blindly. Noor and I never really got along, but she always said I was too quiet to be honest. That helped me. I sent Noor one screenshot. Just one. A soft one. Nothing sexual. Just one message between her and Alex saying, "Don't tell Noor. She thinks he's a good guy." I knew Noor's pride would handle the rest. By the end of that week, 2 of her friends had ghosted her. Subtle, but it shook her. I could tell, because the next night I got another message. "You're ruining my life piece by piece. Why can't you just let it go?" She still didn't get it. I wasn't destroying her. She did that herself. I was just turning the volume up so the people she performed for could finally hear what was really being said backstage. But it wasn't until the voicemail came that I felt the shift. It was 11:17 p.m. A voice message. No words at first. Just breathing. Then, "Nicholas, I didn't mean for it to go this far. I just wanted to feel seen." I listened to it 5 times. And you know what I felt? Nothing. No pity. No fire. No ache. She wanted to be seen. But in the end, it was only when I stopped looking that she finally realized how invisible she'd made me feel for years. I didn't reply to her voicemail. I didn't need to. The sound of her own uncertainty was more powerful than anything I could have said. And that's what scared her, my silence. Because for the first time, I wasn't the man she could bait into an argument or manipulate with guilt. The next week, I filed a formal statement with HR, documented. I gave them time-stamped screenshots, call records, a written timeline, and a note that I would pursue legal action if the harassment and defamation didn't stop. No threats. No drama. Just facts. You'd be surprised how quickly people become professional again when you take the chaos out of your tone. That same day, I received a message from someone I didn't know, a man named Bradley. He found me through a mutual friend after seeing a group chat screenshot I'd never shared publicly. Bradley had been seeing her too. Different city. Same script. He told me she had used nearly the same words on him, said I was emotionally distant, said she was escaping a toxic household, said I didn't allow her to grow. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was predictable. I asked Bradley one thing. Did she ever mention marriage? He paused, then sent me a photo. It was her hand on his chest, wearing a silver ring she bought herself. Caption, "Maybe someday soon." I didn't feel betrayed anymore. I felt validated. And now, I knew what to do next. That Friday, I published one post. Private account. No hashtags. No tags. Just a clean, open letter titled, "For the people who only knew her version." I didn't name names. I didn't even insult her. I let the screenshots speak for themselves, redacted for privacy, but enough to show the patterns. Enough to show I wasn't the ghost she tried to write me off as. The comments were quiet at first. Then came the DMs, former friends, distant cousins, even her college roommate. One after another, they admitted they'd always felt something was off, but didn't want to get involved. That night, she called me 7 times. I didn't answer. Her final message was a single line. "Please stop. You're ruining what's left of me." But I didn't ruin her. She handed me the match and poured the gasoline herself. All I did was stop pretending there wasn't a fire. I never set out to ruin her life. All I wanted was honesty. A clean ending. But when someone weaponizes your silence, Sometimes you have to speak, not to hurt them, but to reclaim your own voice. After the post went live, I didn't engage with the drama. I didn't clap back. I didn't gloat. I went quiet again, but this time, with peace instead of fear. Her messages stopped. The calls ended. And over time, the people who mattered saw the truth for themselves. I moved out of that house a month later. Left the furniture, the dishes, the memories. Took only what I needed. Started over in a small apartment with big windows and no ghosts. I still flinch when I hear certain songs, or when I see someone with her hairstyle in a crowd. But the air feels lighter now. My chest doesn't feel like it's caving in when I wake up. And that matters more than revenge ever could. Jules. She's still in my life. Still my anchor. No, we're not dating yet. But some bonds are stronger than romance. And right now, I'm finally okay with not rushing to fix what someone else broke. I'm rebuilding at my own pace. Funny thing is, the mirror she wrote on with lipstick, I kept it, cleaned it, hung it in my new place. Because now, when I look into it, I don't see warning signs anymore. I see someone who finally walked away when staying meant self-destruction. And if you're listening to this and you've been there, if you've ever been pushed to the background of your own life, I want you to hear this. You're not weak for loving. You're not pathetic for trying. But you are powerful for knowing when it's time to stop bleeding for someone who treats your heart like a doormat.